On November 30th, millions of Hondurans went to the polls to vote for a new president in what became a very tight race between two conservative candidates. But overshadowing the Honduras election has been talk of US President Donald Trump's response to it. Just days before, Trump expressed his support for the right-wing National Party's candidate, Nasri Asfura, and threatened to cut financial aid to Honduras if Nasfura does not win. But he didn't stop there. He also pledged to pardon another member of the National Party, former President Juan Orlando Hernández, who is currently serving a 45-year prison sentence in the US after being convicted on drug trafficking charges in 2024. We put together a special series on the rise and fall of Juan Orlando Hernández and bring you one of those gripping pieces for this week's narrated story. It's a tale of backroom deals, violent power plays, and the scramble for control after the fall of a well-known drug trafficking clan and Juan Orlando Hernández's brother, Tony, who helped connect kingpins with the corridors of government. This is Wild West of Honduras, home to Narcos and their politicians, written by Hector Silva Avalos and read by me, Henry Schuldener. On a December morning in 2018, Javier Errazo, known as El Huita, took to his hammock after a horseback ride at his farm in Ocotepeque, a town on the western tip of Honduras. Moments later, he was killed. They shot him 10 times, said an investigator who spoke with Insight Crime under the condition of anonymity due to security concerns. Weeks before his murder, Errazo had stolen several trucks of cattle belonging to the Valles drug trafficking clan, the investigator said. The clan's patriarchs, Miguel Arnulfo and Luis Alfonso Valle had moved vast amounts of cocaine through western Honduras until their capture in 2014. A horse belonging to the Valles was left tied up at Errazo's side. The horse was a message, said the investigator, a message that the Valles family power had not completely died out. But Honduran authorities also viewed the shooting of Errazo, who had worked under the Valles, as a part of a series of vendettas stemming from the power vacuum left by the clan's absence. The fall of the Valles had reconfigured criminal dynamics in western Honduras, a remote mountainous region bordering El Salvador and Guatemala that includes the departments of Copan, Santa Barbara, Ocotepeque, and Lempira, and has traditionally served as a route for all types of contraband, including drugs. It's also where President Juan Orlando Hernández and his brother Tony, who both have been convicted of drug trafficking and are serving prison sentences in the U.S., got their start in national politics. The Hernández brothers were born in Gracias, a colonial city in the department of Lempira. Both represented Lempira as congressmen. Juan Antonio, or Tony Hernández, began his career as a lawyer. Soon, he was acting as a power broker in Honduras' western departments. He made deals with local operators in the National Party, such as Amilcar Alexander Chande Ardon, the former mayor of El Paraíso in the Copan department, who also faces U.S. drug trafficking charges. Tony also got involved with the Valles clan, which allowed them to control the main land corridor from Honduras into Guatemala, where, according to calculations by Insight Crime, between 150 and 300 tons of cocaine were trafficked each year from at least 2015 through 2019. A Honduran army official, who was part of the special anti-drug trafficking force that has investigated and pursued large drug trafficking groups starting in 2013, said that Tony Hernández's first work for the Valles was to clear out the route in the Lempira department. The investigator said he also started doing favors for the Valles, helping them with business deals in the Bay Islands, a department along the northern coast and an established transshipment point for cocaine. Documents from the criminal trial against Tony Hernández, in which Ardon also testified, have shed light on the role Tony played in forging a pax mafioso between himself, Ardon, and the Valles. In a 2008 meeting, Tony proposed that Ardon contribute to the National Party for his brother Juan Orlando's re-election campaign in Congress. In exchange, Tony offered protection for the mayor's drug trafficking operation. Ardon allegedly continued to provide money to a variety of Juan Orlando's campaigns, including Juan Orlando's initial campaign for president in 2013, according to court documents. With Tony, the two largest drug trafficking groups, those of the Valles and Alexander Ardon, had control of the West. The Valles in the north, on the way out of the country, Ardon with political control in Copan, and Tony in Lempira more to the south, said the anti-narcotics official. Their operations included 2 landing strips for receiving planes loaded with drugs. One in Lempira opened in 2014, while the Rio Amarillo airfield close to the Copan Mayan ruins opened in 2015. Both strips were built for commercial flights, but few such flights have landed at either. Only private flights arrive at the Lempira airstrip, which is constantly guarded by a military unit. The Rio Amarillo airfield received just 1 commercial flight in 2016. Highways extend from both of these runways towards the mountains straddling Guatemala. Few formal custom points are present along the border, Insight Crime found during field research. And those that are there rarely subject cargo trucks to exhaustive revisions. Massive blind spots also provide easy passage. All of this made the western region perfect for smuggling drugs, and things had been going smoothly for the trafficking clans until 2013 when U.S. authorities started to pursue them. Top members of the Cachiros, a prominent trafficking group up in the north of Honduras, turned themselves in between 2013 and 2015. Meanwhile, in the west, the army undertook a secret operation to capture the Valles. The October 2014 operation was so secret that President Juan Orlando Hernández wasn't even informed until a day later. The situation cost the top police chief at the time his position. Agents of the U.S. Drug Enforcement Administration arrested Tony Hernández at the international airport in Miami in November 2018. 3 months later, Ardon also turned himself in to U.S. authorities. When the Valles and Ardon fell, the killing spree started, said a military intelligence source in Honduras. Sub-lieutenants within the Valles had been tasked with managing assets, such as cattle, that had not been seized by the Honduran government. Eraso, who was shot to death while lying in his hammock, was one of those sub-lieutenants. A hypothesis among Honduran authorities is that another trafficker and Valles sub-lieutenant, Orlando Noé Pinto Espino, alias El Rey del Norte, orchestrated Eraso's murder. A few days after Eraso's killing, Pinto was arrested in Guatemala. Edgar Joel Aguilar, a correspondent for a local television station, covered the arrest. In late August, Aguilar was shot to death in a barbershop in La Entrada, a town which, as its name suggests, marks the beginning of the western department of Copan. For the last decade, La Entrada was the gateway to the domains of the Valles and Ardon. The journalist knew he was in danger after covering Pinto's arrest. He told me that if he did not retire from the TV station, they were going to go after him. That is about when he met his fate, a friend and colleague of Aguilar told Insight Crime. Aguilar was one of the few local journalists willing to report on organized crime. Jaime Mesa, a spokesman for the Honduran National Police, confirmed the colleague's account. Aguilar had already suffered 3 attempts on his life, along with numerous threats, Mesa said. Unlike Honduran kingpins of the past, small-time traffickers like Pinto and Eraso appear much more prone to violence and are even willing to gun down a journalist. They also have scores to settle among themselves. An international official based in the Honduran capital said that those massacres were related to disputes among organized drug traffickers and that they are being resolved in the old-fashioned way. The departures of Tony Hernández, the Valles, and Ardon from the criminal scene allowed an already lawless region to become even more violent. Gone were the days in which everything moved under a few powerful chiefs with the best protection that a drug trafficker could hope for: political influence and power. This is Wild West of Honduras, home to Narcos and their politicians, published September 10th, 2019. Written by Hector Silva Avalos and read by me, Henry Schuldener. This story is part of a special series detailing the rise and fall of former Honduran President Juan Orlando Hernández, who was convicted on drug charges in the United States. You can check out the whole series on our website. To hear more of our audio stories, podcasts, and long-form narrative journalism, follow Inside Crime on Spotify, YouTube, Apple Music, and Amazon Music. And for more investigations into how organized crime has infiltrated the political and economic elite in Latin America, visit insidecrime.org. Thanks for listening.